A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You're watching NTV at One. My name is Zeynab Ismail. We begin this broadcast in Dodoma in Tanzania, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is among the heads of state attending the state funeral of Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli. Let's listen in to what is happening at this point.
Familia yetu haitegemei tu mwelekeo wa kimkakati wa kisiasa na kiuchumi. Tuna historia pamoja, tunashirikishana na mizizi iliyooteshwa wakati wa mapambano na mateso. Leo kama jana tunahifadhi na kuimarisha uhusiano wetu wa pande mbili kupitia mwingiliano wa kuhudumu katika ngazi ya serikali na katika kiwango cha watu wa nchi mbili. Kwa kweli ushirikiano wetu unapita zaidi ya mfumo wa mipaka yetu. Kama matokeo ya msimamo huu na pamoja, Tanzania na uongozi wake wa muda wote mfululizo katika mfumo wa kamati ya ukombozi ya OAU ya wakati huo imetekeleza majukumu muhimu katika bara la Afrika, haswa katika ukazaji umoja wa Afrika. Wakati tunajigamba kunakumbuka jukumu la Tanzania katika mapambano ya ukombozi wa watu wa kusini mwa Afrika nchini Msumbiji, Angola, Namibia, Zimbabwe na pia dhidi ya ubaguzi wa rangi nchini Afrika ya Kusini. Tanzania ilikuwa moja ya nchi zilizosaidia sana kukuza nchi za mstari wa mbele harakati ya kipekee za kukomboa kusini mwa Afrika ambazo zilizosababisha kuzaliwa kwa SADC yetu ya leo isiyoepukika. Rais Magufuli kama mwenyekiti wa SADC ilitumika wadhifa wake bila makosa na kwa uhodari. Alisimamia ukamilishaji, ufafanuzi wa maono ya SADC 2020 na 2050, mpango mkakati na maendeleo ya kanda 2020 na 30 kama vyombo vya ukazaji wa maendeleo yetu wote bila ubaguzi wa aina yoyote. Kuondoka kwa ghafla kwa ndugu yetu Rais Magufuli kumeacha pengo kubwa. Upendo wake, kuishi kwake kijamii, utoaji maoni yake kiukweli hadharani kuhusu tukio lolote lile, upendo wake kwa jirani ni alama ambazo haziwezi kufutika kamwe, na kwa heshima milele kutazitunza. Nakumbuka mara nyingi zaidi ndugu Magufuli alikuwa anapiga simu asubuhi saa 12.
And mourners continue to pay respect to the late Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli. We'll be bringing you a live broadcast of exactly what is happening there in Dodoma, where also 10 heads of state are attending the state funeral. Meanwhile, in the country, the 2020 Kenya Certificate of Primary Examinations have began, with candidates across the country sitting for their mathematics paper. The first of 7 expected to be administered in 3 days. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, who oversaw the release of the exam papers in Kiambu County early on Monday, had stated that security of the pupils is of concern, while warning against cheating. The exams, which are normally done at the end of the year, are taking place 5 months later after the 2020 tests were postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The 2020 KCPE class has begun their journey to the next step in their academic life, albeit under different circumstances, born out of a global pandemic which continues to ravage the world. By 6 a.m. Monday, Ministry of Education officials were already at the designated exam collection centers across the country to begin collection of the day's exam papers.
Everybody in this republic to pray for our children, because this is the very first time in the history of this country that our children are going to face an examination after having been away from class for 7 months.
According to the Kenya National Examinations Council, 1,191,725 candidates will be expected to sit the examinations in 28,467 KCPE examination centers. The ministry says that those centers affected by flooding, insecurity or closure will be hosted in other schools or government institutions. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has assured parents that candidates who are unable to access their registered centers will be allowed to sit the exams in other stations.
Those people who took money from the children, and we find that the children were not registered, we have decided as a government that the children must take the exam. Even though under protest, they must take the exam and they must not be penalized.
Examination centers which were affected by floods, especially in Baringo County, have been moved to neighboring schools, while those that have less than 15 candidates have been merged with those closest to them. Some private schools had registered candidates but closed down due to the economic hardships occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. With the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic currently hitting the country, the ministry says that all MOH guidelines will be strictly followed in the examination centers, where NEC insists on a seating arrangement of 1.22 meters between candidates. Vigilators will be expected to supervise between 15 to 40 candidates, with everyone participating in administration of the tests required to wear face masks. In January, the Kenya National Examinations Council asked sub-county directors of education to identify public institutions to host such candidates. To prevent cheating, Professor Magoha instructed centre managers and invigilators to ensure that all candidates remove their face masks and display their insides before they are allowed to wear them back.
The examination is being secured. The integrity of the examination process shall remain unquestionable. Each centre manager has 2 policemen whose job is to ensure that that examination is kept with the utmost integrity.
Professor Magoha has promised the national examinations will be conducted and marked with a human face, owing to the special circumstances occasioned by COVID-19 that caused closure of schools for nearly a year. This is to ensure the candidates will not be disadvantaged. Meanwhile, the Teachers Service Commission CEO Nancy Macharia has called on teachers to take up the COVID-19 vaccine to enable them discharge their duties as frontline workers.
Please take advantage of this vaccine which is being given to you as frontline workers.
Speaking in Kisumu while overseeing the opening of the KCPE exam container Monday, Macharia urged all teachers to observe the health protocols while on duty during the national exams rollout to avert the spread of the novel coronavirus. According to the TSC boss, over 272,000 teachers will be taking part in the examinations in various capacities. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Well, the Kenya National Examinations Council Chairman John Onsati led a team of education and security officers in opening of examination containers in Mombasa. Onsati stated that the exams have not leaked and urged county education directors to remain vigilant and address issues related to malpractice if they arise. NTV's Coast reporter Kevin Mutai also reports that security agents have been deployed across the region to monitor the exercise.
Opening of examination containers kicked off early Monday morning at Uhuru Nakaza building in Mombasa. Education officials led by the Kenya National Examination Council Chairman John Onsati distributed exam materials to center managers across the county. The government says that all the centers across the region received exam materials on time.
Examination has not leaked, and it is now your responsibility as center managers and the security officers to continue the chain. Let us not have any malpractice along the process.
There are 100,800 pupils expected to sit the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exams across the 6 coastal counties. The tally of candidates has increased by more than 10% compared to 2019, when 88,122 candidates sat for KCPE exams. Public primary schools have a total of 784 examination centers with 84,205 candidates, out of which 41,677 are boys and 42,528 are girls. Private institutions have 444 centers with 16,595 KCPE candidates. 8,318 are boys and 8,277 are girls. Kilifi County has the highest number of registered candidates with 39,386, followed by Kwale with 22,465, with Mombasa recording 21,129. Taita Taveta County has 8,769, Tana River 5,703, and Lamu County with the least number of candidates at 3,348. The government indicates that security will be beefed up in all examination centers to ensure surveillance and integrity of the exams as well as safety of the candidates. 3 officers will be manning each center.
We are living in the era of COVID-19, and of course we must ensure that we do not become the super spreaders. So whenever we have a function like this, we strive to adhere to those protocols that the government has set.
Elungata says all examination centers across the region are accessible, reiterating that no challenges have been reported so far. Education officials also say that invigilators posting anything related to examinations while at the centers will be arrested and prosecuted. Special arrangements have been put in place to ensure ill or expectant candidates and even those who've already delivered their babies sit the national exams. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Mombasa.
Well, away from education matters, allowances could soon make up a maximum of only 40% of what every civil servant earns every month as the government moves to tame the ballooning public sector wage bill, which has expanded by over 90% in the last 5 years, crowding out resources meant for development. This is one of the proposals in the draft allowances and benefits policy, which has been opened for public participation.
At 827 billion shillings in the last financial year, Kenya already spends more than half of its annual revenues in salaries and wages for government employees. The astonishing amount of money spent on allowances, which stood at 322.5 billion shillings in the 2018-2019 financial year, has been cited as a major factor behind the country's unsustainable but expanding mountain of wage bill.
It's amazing that we have 247 distinct allowances in the public sector. 247. I mean, that number in itself just tells you that something is wrong about the design of the wage structure, because it means that anybody can sit in their office and find one way or the other to claim an allowance in addition to their wage.
You have institutions who will pay extraneous allowance and responsibility allowance. But there is a thin line between the two in terms of eligibility criteria and the reason for paying the two. So you'll find that in some cases, an employee would be paid both. But if you look at the reasons why they are being paid, it's more or less for the same thing.
Through the draft policy, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission (SRC) wants allowances and benefits to be limited to 5 categories, including house allowance, commuter allowance, job-related allowances, task-related allowances, and labor market adjustment allowances, and also cap the ratio of basic salary to gross salary at 60%.
If you take your gross pay today, on average, 48% would be allowances. However, we have institutions that pay as high as 100% or even more than 100, where if you take allowances constitute more than 100% of basic salary.
The policy, whose final copy will be issued before the next financial year, which begins next July, also proposes that allowances and benefits shall not be used to compute pension pay. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
And defaulters of land rates in Kiambu County have been put on notice, with the county government giving them 2 months to settle arrears. Ruth Munyi with a full report.
The county government of Kiambu has sent a stern warning to defaulters of land rates in Kiambu. Governor Nyoro has called upon residents and businesses to pay up their land rates.
Watu wengi ambao wenye mashamba na wenye plots kama ni commercial hawajitokeshi kulipa land rates.
The county government has set up a task force which will follow up on the land defaulters.
Tumetengeneza kamati ambao kwa wiki zingine mbili itakuwa ikifuata. Kwanza tunafuata wale 2,000 kwa sub county, wale top defaulters, na tunawajua ni watu wakubwa.
Nyoro has warned that he will shut down businesses for those who will fail to pay up on time. Ruth Munyi, NTV.
And Somalis living in Mombasa have called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to make way for the creation of a new constituency in Ijara. They argue that this will be in honor of the late Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji, who passed on last month in Nairobi.
Tunamwomba rais kama ahadi yake ni ya kweli, atongezee kiti cha huluko kabla ile magao ya viti hajafanyika, kwa sababu idadi yetu ni wengi na kule kuna shida mengi, na tunajua kwamba inahitaji huduma ya karibu ya wananchi.
All right, let's just take a quick break. When we come back, we still have some sporting action for you and some other stories. Stay with us.
This new pack is available in all leading supermarkets and outlets. It's still the same flour. Pembe yangu ni poa.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we are not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Health is wealth, and a healthy body works just like a machine. With many moving parts, it's all about what's inside. We like clockwork operations. Blending efficiency with quality has always been our drive. Every step of the way, our ambition is to achieve maximum health benefits out of our selection of maize and wheat flour. From our grain selection, sorting, and processing, we produce the only toxin-safe flour, the first of its kind in Kenya, a nutritious flour that keeps your family rich. Because health is wealth. Exposure to aflatoxins is associated with an increased risk of cancer. Ajab is a certified toxin-safe flour.
All right, you're watching NTV at One. On to some sports news now. And the Kenya national team Harambee Stars began their residential camp yesterday ahead of the final round of the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The national team is gearing up for the final round of the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Egypt on March 25th at Kasarani Stadium and Togo on March 29th away in Lome. Kenya is third in Group G with 3 points, 5 behind leaders Egypt and second-placed Comoros. Togo is last with only 1 point. This comes after the preparations friendly matches against South Sudan and Tanzania. Well, the Kenya national team Harambee Stars began their residential camp yesterday ahead of the final round of the 2022 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. In fact, that's just the report we have aired for you right now. But let's take a look at what's happening in the English Premier League. Well, in that report, City are just 2 victories away from winning the FA Cup for the first time after beating Manchester United 3-1 to set up a Wembley semi-final against Southampton, and remained a force to be reckoned with and took the lead in the quarter-final tie at the King Power Stadium through Kelechi Iheanacho when the striker took advantage of a horrendous pass from Fred. United scored against the run of play through Mason Greenwood, but the Foxes remained the brighter team and regained the lead through a fine Yuri strike. Iheanacho wrapped up the game with a back post header with 10 minutes remaining, netting his 7th goal in his last 4 appearances. Leicester's win sets up a first FA Cup semi-final since 1982 for the club, while United's only hope of silverware this season now comes in the form of the Europa League. Well, that's all we had lined up for you. We'll be taking a short break, but when we come back, we'll continue with a live broadcast of what is happening in Dodoma at the Uhuru Stadium, where the National Requiem Mass of the late Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli is ongoing. Different heads of state are there. Let's now take a break. When we come back, that's what we'll be getting.
This is NTV.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust to provide effective relief and is gentle on the stomach. Try Panadol Advance for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Advance. This has been Medifax for Panadol.
Just 1 capful of Dettol is enough to disinfect surfaces and protect your family and your home. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Did you know that there are over 80,000 matatus registered under SACCOs in the country, moving 7 million passengers daily and handling close to 2 billion shillings per day? One of the oldest is 2NK SACCO.
In 1993, we started with about 30 members. Let alone the members kept on growing to almost 2,000 members.
One of the major benefits of being a member of 2NK SACCO is that you're able to have your finances pooled and well taken care of. And you are able to access them at the end of the month, like a salary.
We have a lot of partnerships with them over the years, and we take pride in the fact that 65% of the bank is owned by the cooperative movement in Kenya.
Cooperative Bank is working with cooperatives to transform lives.
lending to micro, small and medium-sized businesses. What does an MSME need for documentation?
We do not necessarily need you to have audited financial statements, but there are quite a number of other ways through which we can then assess your levels of cash flow.
Concerns around pricing and hidden charges.
I think there is more transparency in pricing. So today customers can figure out who is charging X and then say who is charging X plus 1.
And the state of the market.
Banks are well positioned, especially from a cost structure, to work within reasonable or constrained net interest margins.
In the next edition of Business Redefined, we host the Chief Financial Officer at Family Bank for this and more.
I'm in Tema District, Southern Ghana. This is the heart of manufacturing in this country, and particularly textiles production. I'm here to find out what manufacturing entities like this one are doing to grow not just within this country and West Africa, but beyond, across the African continent.
When I see people wearing my creations, like wherever they are, that's the best feeling in my life.
After a year full of uncertainty, Kenya's leaders of tomorrow will soon sit for their KCPE and KCSE national exams. Join the Daily Nation team in wishing our candidates success in the Faulu na Daily Nation campaign. Log on to success.nation.co.ke from your phone and send the candidates' details and a heartfelt personalized message for only 299 Kenya shillings, or include a photo of the candidate for only 999 Kenya shillings. The messages of hope will be published in the Daily Nation Junior Sport magazine every Monday and My Network magazine every Friday for the duration of the campaign. Campaign runs from 5th March till 15th April 2021. Tusimame na watoto wa Kenya na Daily Nation.